what I find interesting is like Mother Teresa. So Mother Teresa definitely was an evangelist to an elite group only because she was an evangelist first to the poor.
Yeah.
You know, and I found that to be true with Simple House in that like the only reason why people in my family have turned to me as like having some religious insight is because I serve the poor.
Yeah. But you don't serve the poor to have religious insight for your wealthy family or whatever.
I know you don't. It can't be the end, but it does have this interesting side effect, right? And I'll meet young people come to Simple House and they have the same kind of tension I did at their age, which is that, you know, I've had this religious experience. I've seen these religious truths. How do I get my parents to see this? How do I get my brothers and sisters to see this, right? And it's like, well, you don't by arguing with them. You don't by like going, like, honestly, like if you spend a year or two serving the poor, they'll start asking, like they honestly will come and ask. Yeah. You know, it's somehow like by not focusing on them with these, you actually can have some say. Yeah. You know, it's an interesting like paradox there.
Yeah. Also, we've had a lot of volunteers here that maybe their parents weren't super happy they were here, but they get invested in a particular family, you know, that they're serving while here and they want to send Christmas presents or something. And
right. Like the parents become ministers through the kid, even if they weren't happy about the kid becoming a missionary. So you're kind of helping
them live the Christian life without, you know, having the right ideas, you know, and I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all of this kind of goes into a missionary mode discussion, right? So a lot of what you see in missionary work is a discipleship type model, right? Where you like find someone and you teach them the faith, right? And this doesn't work with the poor, right? Yeah. In fact, it kind of often doesn't work. Evangelism's always hard, so I don't want to like, you know, knock it that way. But, we at Simple House have been more friendship evangelization model. Yeah. Trying to avoid using the word accompaniment so I don't trigger anyone. Yeah. Do you want to break that down for a second?
Yeah, I do. I have to say the first I heard about accompaniment, I really like the idea, but I think at least people perceive that it's sort of used as a way to not have to deal with the hard truths of the faith. You know, it's like meeting people where they're at without like doing a lot of correction, but sort of walking with them and patting their back and saying we love you without actually doing like the other part of the work of being a missionary. And so I think people are sensitive to that. I think people are sensitive to that also in the light of maybe some of the Latin Mass stuff that has happened with the Pope. It's like, oh, okay, so these people that are living immoral lives are welcome to be accompanied in the church, but we are sort of feel like you're trying to cast us out. So I think that's another element of but I think the real thing is like, is it being used as a sort of way to not have to do the hard work of being a missionary?
So like, are we too soft pedaling the truth? And they're right to say yes. In the past we have. Yeah. Like they're very right in that. And I had a situation where I was explaining that I think we need to have a church where the prostitute can come in and somehow figure out how to worship. In a sense, like can come in and not be too ashamed to come in. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And the person I was talking to said something to the effect of, but I hope we tell that prostitute that prostitution's wrong. And I see where they're coming from, right? Yeah. But
it's like the prostitute knows that prostitution.
Yeah. Anyone who's worked with prostitutes knows that their problem is the deep shame. Yeah. And they deeply know it is wrong. And that's why they're not coming in the church. Yeah. You know? Yeah. But I understand why someone who hasn't worked with that and has seen us soft pedal the truth too many times would have that other opinion, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So the point is that it triggers, right?
Yeah, but I think I really like the idea. Apparently, Pope Francis, I think at one of the World Youth Days, said, this is Father Ivany is like the chaplain of a Simple House here, and we love him. And he gave this talk about accompaniment, and he said that the Pope said, like, most people have friends, but they don't feel like they have mentors. And I do think, like, we're very fragmented in our society, like kind of cross age and whatever. So they don't feel like they have mentors, and they need someone that lives differently, who can interpret like what is going on, like differently from the secular world, and someone who's kind of trained in the wisdom of the church. And I think this is Father Ivan. He said something like, we need a person of reference who's like close by, credible, and consistent. And I like love this. Like, yes, totally. And it's not, you know, it's not exactly like a peer relationship, you know, even though like, yeah, we're accompany everyone, even our peers to some extent, right? But it's not a peer relationship. It's like people who are both on the way, and someone might have a little bit more wisdom to offer someone that's newer or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is, yeah. And it's also interesting because like when you look for this like accompaniment model, or when I meet young people, they look at the older people and maybe somebody knows more about the catechism or knows more about Thomas Aquinas or has all the answers or something like this, right? And another person has some kids and appears to be full of joy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And oftentimes I'll see the young people want to kind of associate with the person full of joy, looking for the secret there.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I think that's right. And I think that that's the goal of Simple House, is to live life well and be available to help people. Yeah. You know, with that, you know, as Benedict said, the new evangelization is teaching people the art of living. Yeah. It's not like just teaching a certain like set of truths, although those are very important. Yeah. If those truths if you're just being right all the time, that's not enough. You know? Yeah. Okay. So part of this whole so this elite thing has something to do with missiology, the study of mission work, because it's like, you're going to go the Jesuit model, you're going to go the Mother Teresa model. Simple House is more in the Mother Teresa vein, but I don't discount that this other method's also useful. Yeah. And I mean, Jose Maria Escriva, there's like saints that, right? Sure. That are, epitomize it, you know?